This podcast is brought to you by our fine Patreon supporters. Thank you for supporting the show. If you would like to get more Dissecting the 80s, and this year, that means an episode every other month, bi-monthly on the Patreon, bi-weekly on your phone, or your main feed, more or less, go to patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. We've got a number of tiers there, but at the $5 tier, you get that aforementioned bonus episode, 6 every year, plus instant access to the entire back catalog, a custom RSS feed you can drop into your favorite podcast player, and get all of that back content instantly, plus the monthly newsletter where we tell you some of the things we're watching and enjoying. So visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. It's Favorites-bruary, our new favorite theme month. I am one half of the mega podcasting powers, Triple Ano, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, the cat bus of this podcast, the Macho Man.
Andrew Lano. I do love cat bus.
I had a funny burn, and I was like delighted by it, and I knew you would too, and it fell out of my head, and I just couldn't bring it back. It literally came to me just for.
I'm thinking it might be a joke I'm gonna make later on, anyways, so I will save it for when we get there. And if you go, damn, I'll know.
Yeah. Okay. So each of us picks a favorite this month, and then over on the Patreon feed, we're doing a favorite of both of ours. So that'll be Tremors when it comes up there later this month. So look forward to that on the main feed or on the Patreon feed. If you're a Patreon supporter, go check that out. But we watched, oh my God, it's Hayao Miyazaki. I looked it up.
Hayao Miyazaki.
I don't trust myself. Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, I looked it up literally 3 minutes before this podcast started recording, and then it was like Hayao Miyazaki's classic My Neighbor Totoro. So you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your furry forest king. Someone's got your furry forest king.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So we are watching the original Fox dub of this.
Or the Trauma dub. The less popularly known as the Trauma dub, but it is in fact the Trauma dub.
I think if you want to get really nerdy granular, I believe it is technically the Fox dub distributed by Troma.
Flip it.
No, it's Troma distribution.
No, it's Fox distributed it, which is why it's called the Fox dub.
I see.
Troma produced
Troma's
it.
Name is on it as the distributor.
Oh, I was always under the impression that Troma produced it, and then when because it was originally only this dub was only made for trans-Pacific flights or flights to Japan.
Right. Yeah. Well, there was a Trans-Pacific Airlines.
That's probably
It was Trans-Pacific.
So you could only see this on that flight, this specific dub, and then finally they were like, well, we're going to do a theatrical. They were like, we can do a theatrical release, and that's where Fox got involved, from what I understand.
Right. 4 years later, it didn't come out theatrically in the States until 1993, so a really long time from the original Japanese release in 1988. And then a bunch of rights issues and yada, yada, yada. It's not very interesting, but Disney did a dub in the early 2000s. And it's funny, I hadn't watched this movie. You actually reminded me just before we started recording, I watched this movie in college.
Yeah.
Which I did not remember at all. But for a film class in college. But when people would talk about this movie on the internet, they were always talking about the Fanning sisters as the sisters. And I was like, man, I really don't remember that. And I was like, they would have been like really young and not
They would have been infants.
Odd. Yeah. And I was like, I swear we watched this movie like way before that, and then just like never thought anything of it. And so when you were like, I'd like to do this movie, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And you sent me the link. I went down the rabbit hole of like looking up all this information we're talking about. And I was like, oh, now this makes a lot more sense. Cause I always felt like, weren't they like tiny babies? And I'm like, well, I guess the kids are kind of young. I was very confusing to me.
Yeah. The Disney dub is more star-studded. Because the only name in this version would be May, who's Angelica Pickles.
Yes.
And even then, that's not like a huge, it's just, it's not some huge name.
They all,
but
They all feel like voices I heard on cartoons as a kid, which like I don't know any of those people's names, and I did not cross.
I can see that.
This, but it does feel like the voices feel familiar, which also could just be me remembering, having watched this movie a bunch of times because you liked it a lot.
Yeah. But so the Disney version is like it's the Fanning sisters, so the American version is Satsuki, but so growing up, that's all I knew. And then like now that I'm an adult with a modicum of Japanese language and culture and how things are, like that's 100% not how that name's supposed to be pronounced.
Right. It's
Satsuki. Yeah. But so the Fanning sisters are Satsuki and Mei. The only improvement I will say is that Pat Carroll voices Nanny in the Disney version, which is lovely.
That's fun. Yeah. What I really like about the voice actress doing Nanny, I assumed it was a voice actress. Maybe I'm incorrect, but they don't do old lady voice, which I think is like a real like. I know you disagree with me on this, but I really dislike Winona Ryder at the end of Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, I love it.
It was 84 years ago, and I can still smell the fresh paint. Yeah, I just like I hate that. So I hate like quavery old lady voice because I just don't think that's what old people sound like.
Yeah. I like that there's an affectation of old. It doesn't sound like the voice matches the body.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way to put it. I will say the version. So we watched that Fox or Troma dub, which is available on the Internet Archive, both in allegedly standard def and then high def. Although I didn't see a whole lot.
Not too much.
To be quite honest with you.
And then on HBO Max is where the Disney version lives.
Okay. I was watching the air quotes 1080p version, and it was loading very slowly, and I was like, forget this. I'm just gonna just switch over, and I really did not notice a huge difference in video quality. But what I would say is, and I don't remember this from the DVD, so maybe it's just somebody transposing it or the rip, but the voices seem like too loud all the time. Like there's no like I don't know if it's the direction, like directorial decision, and it's like someone directed this dub or what, but like everybody's at like an 8.5 in volume at all times, which
I think that was just sort of the expectation for anime at the time.
Maybe. Yeah. It just feels like everybody goes like, May, hurry up, we have to go see Dad. And it's like, I don't know, they could probably do it down here of like, hey May, hurry up, we have to see Dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I can see that.
The energy level is a constant 8.5, even when the times call for it to be a little bit lower. Like, this movie gets a little sad. And we will talk about it when we get to it. And it's just like, my mom's gonna die. What are we gonna do? It just was kind of like, this isn't really the right tone, I don't think. But we'll get there. And then the last thing I want to say, for one, I really enjoyed this movie. I haven't, like I said, watched it in a long time. It's going to be a little different, I assume, working our way through this movie because the plot is like kind of inconsequential in this movie. It's really a hangout movie.
Yeah, it's just this very earnest little magic slice of life movie.
Yeah. And sort of like ethereally, and not to be too fart sniffy, but like it's sort of about how childhood is a little bit magical, and you get older and everything. Like it sort of explicitly is said by characters of like, oh yeah, I used to think the world was a little more magical, and now I'm an old lady, and it's I don't do that anymore. And so it's like really a movie about sort of the magic and wonder of childhood.
Well, and the magic that sort of lives in nature, like that everything has a spirit.
Yes. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I don't say that, like I think this movie is really, really beautiful. I mean, I think that's it's a beautiful message, and one that I appreciate, and two, like literally it is beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
The art in this movie is fantastic. Yeah. But we'll get into it. I just warning, like this may be a little bit more like
there's not like a
existential conversation.
There's no villain, and then they're like there is tension at the end, but it's not like it's like there's no tension throughout the movie. It's like the end has tension and then it's resolved. Like it's
right. Yeah, and it's like it's really not. I mean, I guess it technically does feel life or death briefly for a few moments, but it's like really.
Although apparently,
it's really small scale.
If you are in Japanese culture, there are hints that like it's not dire. Apparently, like if you look at like the background, there's like, oh, someone is standing near this statue of like a deity that is a protector or something. So like. Okay. There are little clues if you are, if in Japanese culture, you would understand like, oh, there's probably nothing going to happen. But
Yeah.
Dumb Americans were like, oh no.
um, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It has a lot of Shinto culture in it, which is a religion from Japan. And there's like a lot of that symbolism and thematically has a lot to share with that as well throughout. So you see some of the like little shrine or temple. I'm unsure which is the correct word, but throughout it,
I think shrine because it's a small open space.
That's what I thought, and like the one that they hang out in when it's raining feels more like a shrine than a temple. But I don't know the right answer, so I don't want to just be a blunderingly loud American.
Yes, the opening song slaps. Like
it is, yeah, and it's like what would now be the first credit sequence of a movie.
Exactly, yeah. I also like that it kind of perfect, like the opening sequence, this little animated, whatever, kind of perfectly encapsulates the tone of the movie. That like it's whimsical and it's fun and it doesn't super make a lot of sense. Not that it doesn't make sense, but it's just sort of like this is fun and wacky and whimsical.
I don't even know that it doesn't make sense. Although I think that's valid. It's like I don't think it like really that's not the point.
Yeah,
like at all. It's it's this movie takes place explicitly through the eyeballs of a kid, and kid world is just different, and some people remember that better than other people and stuff. But it's like this without being, like I said, it's hard to talk about this movie without being kind of like cornily existential about it. But I mean, I do really like that about this movie is like, it's a movie about how when you're little, things are magical to you. When you're there, there's magic and wonder in bigger ways than there are for adults. And so that's just what the movie is like, there's a giant cat bus and there's a giant, Totoro, I believe is, I think technically like a mispronunciation of troll.
Yes.
But he does not look like any.
No, I think that
depiction of a troll.
I'm guessing that's just like a cultural thing that like Japanese trolls might look different.
Yeah, you're right. This feels more like what we would think of in Western culture as pixies than trolls.
Totoro?
Of like they kind. You look at the little ones under the house, and like the fact that they like kind of live in the woods, and like he's very large. Pixies are typically very small, but I just mean like this sort of like
the trappings of pixie-dom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of a cryptid, but like cultural creature that is sort of an American equivalent.
Yeah, I certainly can't. I don't know of any for sure. I love the loaded up jalopy. Like we're moving. It's never explained why we're moving or where we're like what's going on there, but it's just we're moving.
I think they were moving to be closer to Dad's job and like the hospital, so that way they were like sort of more centralized. Was how I.
But they seem very far from both of those things.
But I think that's the point, that this is a central location between the two.
Oh, you think the hospital is like one way and the work is the other?
That's my thought.
He does go visit the mom in the hospital with relative ease at the end. So I thought it was like more of like a suburban or even like rural commuting to the big city sort of vibe.
That could be, yeah.
And the kids are in the back with all the Beverly Hillbillies-esque strapped furniture in this little jalopy.
Yeah, they're in the space under the desk where like your chair goes.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, it's a cop, get down," which is like it's a good tone. And it turns out they're like, "Oh, it's not a cop, it's just a guy," and then they're leaning out and being like, "Hey," which is it's just very charming. Here's a question I have for you. Yeah. Do you think they flipped this frame so it looks like he's driving on the left? Because in Japan, the car steering wheel is on the right.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And there'd be like nothing, like there's no writing, or if it is writing, it's kanji, and so those like to Americanize aren't gonna like unless you can read Japanese. Like I'm 17 days into my Japanese Duolingo, so I cannot.
Oh,
so you guys, you and we're talking about using Duolingo, and we're maybe going to Japan, hopefully going to Japan next year. It's something we were supposed to do in 2020 and have been punting. So I was like, let me give this a try. So, I mean, it would be better to know like
a few phrases,
very broken Japanese. Yeah. So I've been trying to do it. I'm bad at learning.
I'm in the over a year club for my French.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think I'm at like 16 days. So I've like there's a few kanji that I recognize now that I'm like, oh, I know what
that's
that
cool.
Sound makes, but I will not be able to conjugate it into sentence structure or anyway. And also reading Japanese is not one-to-one, like it's vertical columns as you see when she writes a letter to her mom. So it's just like I just don't
And
think
it's
I will
right,
ever be able to
right
do
to
that.
left, up to down.
It's right to left and vertical. It's top to bottom, right to left.
So it's completely the opposite of what we're used to.
It's just not, yeah. So it's extremely unlikely that I'm going to be unable to do that. But I would like to be able to like walk into a restaurant and be like, hello, we would like, this food, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know if they would have done that because apparently there was another dub that...
Because it'd be weird that he would be left-hand drive.
I agree. But so apparently there was another dub that happened before this. I think they said it was Nausicaa of the Valley, maybe.
Okay.
But like the American studios just like butchered it. And Miyazaki was like, no, we're not doing that. So the only way he would...
And he's...
The only way he would authorize the Totoro one, because Totoro is very special to him. Totoro is like the symbol of the production company. Like he's exploded. Was that like they would only... They would do direct translations, very minor grammar fixes, but like nothing that would be fixed due to like culture, like nothing would be changed due to like culture or American, like anything like that. It was all like, this is the story, the names are staying the same, the culture is the same.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that ended up changing was Cat Bus. Was the studio was like, we have to like whatever that was originally called. They're like the translation does it. Just can we call it Cat Bus? And he was like, fine.
Yeah. He is notoriously very protective of his stuff and good for him. But for a long time, you could not at all find streams of his stuff because he just didn't like streaming.
Oh, I didn't know he didn't like streaming.
Like he just like is against it. Yeah. There's a great clip of him, and I think it's fairly recent. He's talking. It's got to be within the last year and a half or 2 years because it's about AI generated animation.
Oh.
So it just has to be recent. And it's these three young guys who are like clearly very excited to be showing their thing to Miyazaki. They're like, oh man, like you can tell like just from their body language, they're like, oh man, this is so exciting. And they show him this clip of like, it's sort of like a monster they made using AI. Like it doesn't move like a human.
Are they animators showing him?
Yeah, they're people who have come up with an AI that does animation.
Got it.
So it's like it's like you input like we need this and it spits it out for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he probably hates why would you want to show him this?
Oh, dude.
Why would you want to show him that?
You have to watch this. I will I'll make a note to myself to try to post this on Twitter after we post this episode. But they show him this and he is disgusted. Like as if you showed him like a murder.
Yeah, like I'm shocked he didn't just like get up and walk out and be like, "This is it."
He very much has that energy and is like, "Why would you show this to me? This is awful. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. There's no heart in this. There's no emotion in this. This is machines can't make art. What we do is art. This is like you've completely misunderstood what this is." And it is like, I know that people like, make these jokes all the time about, people getting like a sick burn on Twitter, but it's very, very much that old Simpsons clip energy of like, stop, he's already dead. Like these dudes, you watch their...
Are they crying? Do they cry?
Body. They I don't think they actually cry, but there is a 100% chance that one of them exited that room and started to cry. Like I'll keep it together.
Yeah.
They were clearly like, oh man, we're going to show our idol this thing. And he was like, what you have done has set back humanity.
But like also, if he's your idol, why would you think he would want to see that? Like, why would you think he'd think that was cool?
Totally agree. It is mystifying to me, and I am not a big, like, I enjoy Miyazaki, but I would call myself like a passive at best Miyazaki fan. You know what I mean?
I always feel like AI art only has a place in the planning stages of anything. Like if you're a marketing firm and you're like, well, what we can say, like, show me a picture of a beautiful woman holding a tall bottle of perfume.
Yeah. And
you can be like, okay, this is the concept we're going with. But like after concept art, stop it.
Right. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, we're AI-ifying the fun parts, which to me makes no sense. Like the point of automation is like take away the annoying parts of jobs.
Yeah.
Take away the annoying parts of things. Is like the creative part is the fun part. And if you're in a creative job and don't enjoy it, like you probably are in the wrong job, or like whether that's like this particular employer is wrong for you.
It's almost like our society doesn't value creative people as important people in our society.
Yeah, it's like all these dumb fuck tech bros being like, "Oh, we're gonna solve all the problems with the computer, and then we don't need to hire anybody to do anything." It's like, yeah, great. Why don't you automate some of your code writing? Like, what are we doing here?
Come on. But
yeah, I'm in agreement. We were recently talking about some AI writing stuff at my job.
Oh yeah, it's big.
One of the people on staff. Yeah, and I was like, I was just like, this is dumb and bad. Like,
they can. They've had to ban it in schools because kids can use it to write papers.
That's what we were talking about, and they beat the despite the fact that they are 100% plagiarized, they beat the turn-in tests.
Well, because it's technically not plagiarism.
Well, so it is, and it isn't. Like if you I've seen a bunch of them where somebody did like a AI generated novel.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, it was just like putting in whole sentences and paragraphs from other novels.
Oh.
So I think with your term paper, what it does is like, if you're like, I need a term paper on like the role of nature in Hayao Miyazaki films, like there's probably a bunch of articles and papers written about that. And it just processes all of them and like spits it back out in a slightly reconfigured fashion.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it is technically plagiarism, right? Like if you write that paper, you'd cite that thing, and then you put some of your own thoughts,
or you'd thesaurus it yourself.
Paragraph. Yes, exactly. So it is interesting, but it's like that's not to say is like, you know, could there be like, I write press releases, that's what I do for my job, or a lot of what I do for my a significant portion of it. It's like, you know, I have templates, which, you know, AI could generate a template, but it's like, I don't need to have an AI generated template because I made it and it took me 10 minutes. And it's like, I just have used it for years. I didn't have to, it doesn't require, you know, it doesn't require that. But there are parts of jobs like that like, yeah, I could see a small business being like, well, let me get an AI generated template for a press release or something or whatever. So it's like, I see where it fits. It just, the fun part of it is being used to do the fun part is perplexing to me. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the hell they figure out to do, because like I would have used this. Like I would have probably used it and then
you do it and then you go in, you do a few tweakies here and there.
Right. Yeah. You do 80, I'll do 20.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I'm a lazy bastard, you know, but yeah, I 100% would have done that. 100%.
Yeah. Apparently there's one famous one right now. It's like QI something. They're like, we are currently working on ways to make sure to help universities detect when things have been written by AI. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How are you doing that?
Right. Isn't the whole point of the AI to be undetectable? Like, isn't that what you set out to create?
That's the whole shtick.
Right. So anyway, they're moving to this new house, and it's very funny because like the kids seem at once terrified and excited at the prospect that the house might be haunted.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Like both things simultaneously. Yeah.
I also always thought the acorns they find looked like candies.
Yes. I also assume it is not actually an acorn, but some other tree.
I think it might be like if you took the cap off an acorn.
But that like doesn't I mean, you don't see a lot of capless acorns, I feel like, in animation.
No, but I just mean like they are technically like two separate things, so it could be.
I assume it is the nut of that tree that he says.
The camphor tree.
When he's like, yeah, I assume that's what it's a camphor nut is my guess. Although why they wouldn't have just said it's a camphor nut if he said it's a camphor tree.
Yeah, that's
I don't know, but I don't know. It just didn't ring acorn-y to me, but that's fine. I will say I was delighted that this is clearly like the entry point for one of Andrew's famous catchphrases, and I think maybe this is what I had my burn about. And
this is not my joke, so go ahead.
This is clearly where the origin of feudal Japanese doors.
Oh, probably. Because his house is full of them.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it is post-war Japan, so not feudal Japan, but the doors are feudalish.
Yes, they are.
Although these are a little more solid. They're not the like
the inner doors are.
They are.
The inner doors are 100% the like thin papery kind.
Yeah.
It's like loosely 1950s Japan, but it's sort of also anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're not reckoning with Hiroshima and stuff.
No.
But clearly it is like technology wise, it feels to be like rural 1950s.
Yeah.
So we're like moving into the house here, and Dad has a friend who's helping move some furniture in. He sends the girls to go look at the kitchen. they open the door and all of these little dust mite sprites are all over the
Soot
place.
sprites or dust bunnies. They're very cute.
And this is one of my favorite like moments of the movie because there's this like it's just the framing of the shot is beautiful with the kids in the door and seeing out past them and like watching the bugs go. And then their reactions are incredible that it's like you immediately there's this like shock and
Pause for a moment.
Yes. And like clearly a gathering of feelings. It's just delightful. I laughed out loud legitimately while watching it.
It's so good. And that's like one of the interesting, like so much of this movie, you could easily do one of those YouTube edits to like be spooky because a lot of it in context is like playfully kind of spooky in the beginning.
Right.
It's hocus pocus. It's spooky. It's fun.
Right. Yeah, it's like they're like, is the house haunted? Is there a spirit here? And the dad's like, probably. We should be nice to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, yeah, no. Like there's nothing. It's like, yeah, probably it's an old house, you know, like other things have lived here and we should respect that. And it's just a different approach.
The whole world's full of magic.
Right.
And then he asks them to find the stairs to the attic. And so they're running around trying to find them. And then finally, I love this door latch mechanism because it's a door that's got like a lot of horizontal beams on it. And maybe it's a thing in Japan, you know, that they would just
maybe
instinctively know that. But Satsuki grabs the middle beam and slides it to unlatch the door to open it. And it's always just like, that's so cool and hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, it is. Also, I didn't say this, but you could say this at pretty much every scene throughout the movie. Tremendous dad energy from both the drawing and the vocal performance. Like the clothes are clearly like one generation old. Like whenever he stopped caring about clothes is like where the clothes live, which is delightful and like very sweet and very nice to his kid. Like he cares a lot about his daughters, obviously, which, you know, sounds a little silly maybe, but is definitely not a given in an animated film that the parents like are nice,
are good, nice people who support their children. Yeah. Also, I feel like he kind of reminds me of visually of Cameron from Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Totally could see that. He's also wearing Jenko jeans for like 40% of the movie.
Yeah, a lot of wide. I mean, it's the 50s, so wide leg is
wide legged.
It's the 80s does the 50s, so it's a lot of wide.
Right. It's very, very wide. And then the other part that I love, I actually wrote this down. It's like, oh, Dad, is the house haunted? And he's like, I don't know. I hope so. I always wanted a haunted house.
It's fun. Like everyone's having fun. It's joyous.
Right. Yeah. Joyous is a great word for this movie.
So the girls go up to the attic and it's dark and like you can see and hear the soot sprites like skittering around behind them. And then
really great sound effect of like yeah. I don't know if you could hear that, but I was doing some
a little tippy tappy. And then as soon as Satsuki throws open the windows, you see them all like run into a corner. And then there's a little crack in the wall that May notices. It's got them like they're kind of like pulsating. And when she sticks her finger in there, it's like she sticks it in a light socket, and they all rocket to the ceiling. Yeah. And then when one starts to fall, she does the classic little kid catch a bug mistake, which is she claps her hands together instead of cupping.
Yes. Yeah. I also really like that they're like these little furry black soot monster things, and then at some point they all like open their eyes, and as you said, like there is, if you change the music, that's scary, you know. But here it's like whimsical that they're like, oh, they're like little tribble-y kind of creatures for those Star Trek people out there. Like they're just like cute little puffballs. Yeah,
they show up again in Spirited Away, and they eat.
Oh, that's
they eat star candy. There's little star candies that they just like throw. It's basically the shape of an everlasting gobstopper, but shrunk down really tiny.
Okay,
So as all the soot sprites are like running around in the furnace room, they're like scattering like chicken feed, these like star candies to them.
That's awesome.
It's very cute.
So they go downstairs. May has this soot sprite she thinks in her hands, and Nanny comes over and they meet her. May's a little scared of her.
She's not their grandmother. She's just like a grandmotherly figure who I guess owned the house.
Yeah, it seems like maybe she's the landlord, or maybe she was just being neighborly and that she was like, oh, I would have cleaned up over here.
Yeah, maybe. But May and Satsuki realize their feet are covered in soot, and May's hands are because she squished the Soot Sprite.
Yeah. And Nanny's like, oh, when I was a girl, I could see them. It's so nice that you can still see them. And it's like, that's like sort of the entry into the world in a way that I really like.
Yeah, and like no one's mad that the girls tracked dirt all over the house. They're like, oh, the Soot Sprites are hard at work, I see.
Yeah. And it's also like, why would you be mad? Like, the whole house is filthy. Like, you have to clean this whole. It's like, this is not just a house that's been bought and they're moving in. It seems almost abandoned.
Yeah, it definitely seems. I guess everything's open. Like, there's no central air, so you got to keep everything open, which means you're gonna get raccoons or tanuki or whatever.
Right. Because later the kids are going to sleep and he like puts a bug net over them because it's summertime and there's a lot of.
You have to keep all the doors open.
Right. So he sort of protects them from the bugs somewhat.
Mm-hmm. They eat some of Nanny's cooking, and again, Miyazaki food just always looks so good. It's always great looking.
Have you watched anything about the theme park that they opened, the Studio Ghibli one?
I've only seen a little bit.
Okay. I haven't watched any of it because...
is it in Tokyo or is it...
It's in Japan, but well outside Tokyo. And already I have too many theme park things on the list for our trip to Japan, and my wife is kind of like, all right, there's like a hard cap on the amount of theme park I'm willing to do while we fly 12 hours.
Where else? It's Tokyo and Universal and Disney. What else?
Well, that's 3 theme parks. That's a lot for a 10-day
That's true. Although you could probably do Disney, and you might be able to squeeze Disney into one.
The plan is... No, you can't, because you can't...
There's no park hopper?
There's no, not until your 3rd day.
Oh, okay. That's how they get you.
So the current plan is evening at Disneyland, full day, bell to bell at Disney Sea, and then potentially I'm gonna just pay the evening rate and go ride the Jaws ride and leave Universal Osaka.
You gotta eat the food. They have the cake.
I mean, look, my favorite theme park ride still exists in one place in the world, and if it costs me $60 to ride it one more time, I will do that, and then maybe I'll get a snack on the way out. But Osaka is the street food capital of Japan.
Is it?
And so there's like 2 or 3 blocks. Yeah, if you're ever wanting a little like taste of Japanese culture, look up like an Osaka street food tour on YouTube. And there's like there's a number of blocks that are pedestrian only, and then like you have to cross the street between them, of course. But they're like on either side of the street is just food stalls, like permanently built. Like,
that's cool.
Like I'm trying to think of a good... You know how like some pizza joints in the city have like a window where you can order a slice? So that kind of thing where it's like a little kitchen and then the counter's right there. And it's like, this one does all crab dishes. This one does Kobe beef. This one does food on skewers. Just food on skewers is our hook. Like anything you can imagine. Like this one just does octopus balls. This one...
I saw one on Instagram that was like, it was like cheese bread or something. It was like famous cheese bread cheese waffle thing. And I was like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, and so you just basically like walk down the street and order like a thing here, a thing here, a thing here, and just eat your way down.
Yeah.
This one does sushi. This one does whatever. So if you're ever getting one to taste. But so I was like, okay, here's a really good reason to go to Osaka. This looks cool as hell, and it's only like an hour and a half on the train. And then also maybe I want to ride the Jaws ride.
Yeah, there you go. And now that Mario's in Hollywood, you can do it there. You don't have to do it there.
No, Mario in Hollywood's like real B team.
But it's still there.
Yeah, but it's really B team. So Tokyo is C team. Tokyo is the B version. Hollywood is the C version, and the one that opens in Florida is going to be the A version.
Really?
One. Mm-hmm.
I'm very disappointed how slow the Mario Kart ride is.
I haven't watched any of that because I'm like, I'm going to get on this. I got to wait.
I looked because I was like, oh, this is great, and it's like very slow and for Mario Kart.
Okay.
And it's like,
well, if you want to see slow, look up the Omni Mover Yoshi ride.
It's the
slowest. The Yoshi ride is the slowest Omni Mover thing I've ever seen. Like slower than the stuff at Funland in Lewis or Rehoboth. Like the kids rides that go in a circle, it's slower than that.
Yeah, okay, so it's a little faster than that, but it is like remarkably slow for Mario Kart, like spin out, like straight whatever.
Yeah, I would expect Mario Kart to be a little zippy.
It is not zippy. But the fun thing about that ride is that you can, if you buy one of the power band things and hit all the bricks and stuff, all the coins you collect in your visit, you can tap to your Nintendo Switch and they go into your Mario Kart game.
That's fun. That's cool.
So you can earn stuff. Because I was like, what is?
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
neat.
it's $40, but like, do you get anything from that?
There are like little quests and such you can do.
Yeah, but I don't think you ever like win because I was like, maybe like win like
No physical
a pin or a sticker or something. I was like, I'll take a fucking sticker.
Yeah. I don't know. I have not dug into it. I've only watched like a little bit of it because, like I said, I want to experience some of that stuff. So.
Yeah, I want the food. The food is amazing. It looks amazing.
It does look cool. I did watch a food part. That's fair. Anyway, Dad's trying to work from home. Satsuki goes to her first day of school, and May is too young for school. So May is 5.
Well, and we missed the family. They laughed all the soot sprites away at night.
That's right. In the big storm when they were taking a bath. Satsuki, I'm guessing, is like 8, 10. It's not super clear.
I think
but
she's
that's my guess
10.
based on the age of her
10,
sister.
maybe 11 seems, and May is 5.
They're kind of far apart in age. Like, I mean, you and I are 5 years apart, but they're kind of far apart in age for that. That's why I was assuming she's a little younger. But yeah, that's how it feels anyway.
Yeah.
So he's trying to work from home. May's running around picking flowers, distracting him, and then she finds.
And they visit Mom in the hospital.
tunnel.
That's also a thing that happened.
Oh,
They bike to the hospital the first day to visit Mom.
yes. Wait.
Yeah, and then May has a day in nature to play around.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Yep. Yeah. I just wrote I forgot Mom was sick.
It was just a
I
quick
thought-
visit.
so
It's not major. It's just reminding the audience that Mom is sick.
Well, for me, it wasn't a reminder. It was the explanation of what's going on because I thought this was like a mom died and we moved to a different place.
Oh, right. Oh, they do. I guess it is the first time that they say we're visiting Mom in the hospital. So
Yeah, it had been a while since I watched it, so I didn't remember. And I was like, "Is she dead? Is it like the classic Disney move, like kill the mama?" Like,
I mean, it is
so I was
Disney in that the mom character is inspired by Miyazaki's actual mom, but it's not.
Yeah,
she didn't die.
Yeah. Well, that's every filmmaker.
Yeah. Well,
Spielberg. I mean, that's all of them. I wrote about it. You may have seen it already for the Bag of Soup, but or maybe I don't even remember. Did I write about the Fablemans? Everyone should go see the Fablemans. If I haven't written about it yet, I will write about it at some point. You should go see the Fablemans.
yeah. Miyazaki said that he probably wouldn't have been able to make this movie if the leads were boys, because it would have felt too real.
Oh, yeah. No, that makes sense. The mom being sick is never super defined. Like, obviously she's pretty sick if she's staying in the hospital on a very long-term basis.
Mhm.
And then at one point we find out like she has a cold later, and that's like a genuine cause for concern, which makes me think it's cancer. And then I was starting to think like, oh, is this actually like a post-war Japan thing talking about that stuff? And it doesn't ever actually talk about it, and I could find no reference online about that.
The common accepted answer is that she's got some kind of, I think it's spinal tuberculosis. It's whatever Miyazaki's actual mom had in the hospital that put her in the hospital for a few years. She recovered. She didn't die from that. She died in 80. She ended up dying in 83. His mom. But when he was a young boy, she got some, I think, spinal tuberculosis. That sounds right.
Okay.
So that's what everyone kind of takes at face value.
That would make sense. Yeah, I mean, if the quote from him is, I couldn't make the boys because it'd be too real to life to me, I think we just assume that she has what his mom had.
Yeah.
So I also really like, so May gives Dad some flowers, then she finds a puddle that are full of little black sperm. Let's just call
They're
it what it is.
tadpoles.
I mean, they are depictions of sperm. They are fat little round
That's what
things.
tadpoles look like.
I know, but they also, like, if these were white, they would be a cartoon sperm, and it very, very much made me laugh. Like, you can't just draw sperms and then be like, no, they're black, they're tadpoles. I'm like, no, sorry, Mr. Miyazaki, that's not what a tadpole looks like. In like at 25 or 40 minutes or something, you're gonna draw an extremely realistic frog. I know you could draw what a tadpole looks
But the
like.
problem is you'd have to draw hundreds of photo.
Just photocopy it.
I don't know that he was doing photocopying. They were the rain.
Give me one realistic tadpole that she like picks like give me the
she holds it in her, like she scoops up.
She holds it in her hand, yeah, and gets like a close up look and then puts it back, and then I'll give you the black sperm tadpole.
Okay.
Mr. Miyazaki.
Yeah, the rain apparently was hand scratched into each cell to make it
that's
to make it
bonkers.
soft. Because they were like,
that's crazy.
They're like, animated rain is too harsh, so to keep it soft, we're gonna hand etch rain stripes into the film.
all right, that only because I promise this is not going to be the Fabelmans cast, but there's an incredible moment in that movie where Spielberg has made this war movie and he's like screening it, and it's obviously kids like with toy guns dressed like soldiers. They're all 12-year-olds or something. He was making Super 8 movies when he was a kid, and he's like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. And they do one of those classic, it's one of the best versions of this trope where like someone gets inspired by something that happens and then it like affects their artistic output. Mm-hmm. But the mom is wearing high heels and she steps on a piece of paper and it punches a hole in the paper. And he does the thing where he like looks at it. It's not as obnoxious as those scenes often are. And also it is Spielberg making a movie about his own life. So I'm giving it the credit that like maybe this did actually just happen to him. But so he took a pin and he put a little hole in the actual film everywhere where a gunshot was supposed to happen. And so then you see him screen the movie for people. And when the kids shoot the guns, like there's little pops of light coming out of the barrels of the guns. It's amazing. It's so cool.
Huh. That's really cool.
So it's the same principle you're talking about there of like physically altering the film frame
to make it. Yeah.
As a movie nerd, like that kind of stuff really like excites me of like, and you know, I get why digital makes sense for a whole number of reasons, but like, man, there's something about
hand-drawn animation, man. Princess and the Frog, that hand-drawn animation.
Yeah, dude. I think that movie slaps, and it really doesn't get a lot of credit.
It's because she was the.
And I know you hate it.
Oh, Treasure Planet, not Treasure Planet, Atlantis.
Atlantis fucking rules. It's Mike Mignola art. It's amazing. Like, it's incredible that Disney got Mike Mignola directing the art of one of their major motion pictures. That's an unbelievable thing. Very subversive comic guy. Anyway, continue talking about Princess.
Yeah, it's the. Unfortunately, she was as my friend called her, she's the recession princess. So it like.
Oh, that's a good
she didn't.
point.
She came out at a time when like there wasn't a lot of funds to like buy things and. So, like, unfortunately, that was just her timing.
Yeah. It's also the last great Disney movie with a great villain, which is for me, that's the juice that makes the drink. The straw that stirs the drink.
I agree.
Is a great villain.
Oh, wait a minute. Isn't there?
And I'm 36. They don't have to be for me.
No, yeah. I feel like there was a recent great Disney villain, but I'm blanking now.
The guy in Coco is good.
Oh yeah, De La Cruz.
The guy in Coco is good. This is probably splitting hairs. I kind of put the Pixar stuff in its own box.
Yeah.
And then the Disney stuff in its own box. Like Frozen is not a Pixar movie.
Frozen is Disney, and so is. But Brave is Pixar.
Yeah. So I kind of put them in a different box, but splitting hairs. Anyway, we should talk about this movie, which is wonderful.
It's very good.
So
Mini Totoro's here.
Yes, and her expression when this thing disappeared, like it's kind of ghostly. It's not.
It's sheer
ghostly in like a. Yeah. And I thought it was like a ghost for a second, and then she's like kind of chasing it, and then it disappears, and the look of wonder on her face is amazing. And like the faces of these characters are not drawn in a hyper expressive or super realistic way. They're sort of split between anime and other sort of traditional Western animation, I feel like, in the face anyway. But they still, despite being simple, relatively speaking, they do a lot to convey emotion. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, she kind of chases it under the house, and then we see Medium Totoro with Mini Totoro.
Yes, I do. I do really love Medium Totoro.
He's cute. He's a little bad. He looks like a robber, like a cartoon robber.
Yes, he does. Yeah. Like that just made me think of the old mascots for Cookie Crisp for some reason. But I was just imagining like a Medium Totoro with like a sack full of cookies.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't it Cookie Crisp? There were like two robber dogs and
it was a robber human and a robber dog, and they were being chased by a policeman. Why they went with that route for Cookie Crisp, I don't know. Like, why?
That's so funny. Yeah, it doesn't make it. Probably because, like, the instinct is like, oh, some sort of cookie monster. Well, nope.
Or why wouldn't it just be like a Keebler elf-style friendly baker who, like, made all the mini cookies? Yeah. Like, it's just so funny that, like, it should be wrong. It feels wrong to eat cookies for breakfast. You're going to go to jail.
Yes. Good thing to teach children. You should have guilty feelings over the food you consume.
Teach them young.
This is not going to have repercussions that reverberate through your entire life and the relationship you have with the things you consume. Definitely not.
Yeah. So May chases them through this little foresty moment. And growing up, we kind of had a little, like, we had an opening into the woods behind our house that kind of curved like this. Like, it looked like...
Really?
Yeah, so it was where we ended up throwing all the, like, branches and, like, when we did, like, yard projects and would throw things back. There was a spot where there was, like, an opening in the woods, and it was just, like...
I have no memory.
The way... It wasn't as dramatic as this, and it was much, taller and wider, but it still kind of had that feel of, like, this is the magical opening in the forest.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm glad. I think that's super cool. I just never... I loved the woods that we lived near and spent a lot of time in them. But yeah, I do not remember that, but that's very cool. I love her. She's like kind of crawling through a tunnel. It's like as a kid, like I still feel when I walk by like a tree that sort of grows down and makes a sort of place to hide. Mm-hmm. I still feel delight when I walk by, like, oh, it's a good hiding spot.
Or honestly, any like kid-sized hole space, I'm always like,
yeah.
I hope some kids are appreciating this, because now I'm 31 and it's all gone.
It's a good nook.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like her down the rabbit hole moment.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly what it is. And then she ends up meeting Totoro, who
King Totoro or Big Totoro, whatever you want to call him.
Yes, Jumbo Totoro.
Yeah, Jumbo. He is lovely. Here comes the boy.
Also, something that could be like very scary and frightening. Like there's a moment later where he's comforting Satsuki, and like
for a second,
didn't know.
For a second, you're like, oh no,
he's gonna eat her.
Uh-huh.
He's like, this is it. He's gonna just be like, oh, your sister's in my belly, and you will.
Yeah, it very easily could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. If this is a Jim Henson movie, like, she has to fight this thing.
Yes, the secret. If this is Jim Henson's own work and not he's made a Muppet, then yes.
Yeah.
Because that motherfucker, everything was dark and twisted and evil.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I don't know enough about his childhood to say, but I am sure like it's, reverberations from there in some way, just like this is for Miyazaki and the like the wonder of nature and all that stuff. But yeah, I was just thinking like it's just so funny, like imagining different filmmakers take on something like this is I don't think it's crazy to be like this is an animated masterpiece and to be like what would it look like if it was like Jim Henson version or if it, the Spielberg version of this movie or whatever is kind of a fun thought exercise. But yeah, like in the Henson version, she kills this thing to get away from it.
Yes, or it comes back and like she sees it out the windows.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I will say I would love to see what Henson's puppet version of this would look like.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I'm sure somebody has like drawn that and it looks amazing.
Yeah. It's currently in, or maybe, I don't know if it's still running in London. Oh,
that's right. There's
the stage version. Right? And they've purposely not put Totoro in any of the promotional stuff, like at all. They show all the other, like the soot sprites are really, a lot of it's puppet work. And it's all like human puppeteered puppet work.
Oh, that's cool.
But so the soot sprites are like on. It's kind of like the version of those the bird sticks in like Lion King.
Sure.
Except it's lot of it's like a bunch of strings with soot sprites, so they kind of like wiggle them around like cat toys.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
But they were like,
is it coming stateside?
I don't know.
Like, has it been successful on the West?
It has been successful on the West End. Or maybe it's not the West End. Usually, but wherever it is, it's been very successful. And so I've told my boyfriend that like when this comes, we're going. Like I have to see this because they like show process video and like they are hand knotting all of the fur on what is clearly giant Totoro.
Oh,
so they were like you have to look at him and be amazed and also want to hug him. So I was like, you get it.
Yeah.
You all
that is the thing I would say is about Totoro. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm very excited. Hopefully it comes to the States and I can go see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she climbs on top of him. He's huge and she's little. And like, I'm not saying Totoro, this scene is why I like bears, but I'm also not saying that.
Yeah, I will say, like, you see May like settle in for a nap on top of Totoro, and it's like,
Yeah, I wish.
yeah, man, that's like a really good looking nap spot.
Yeah, we got a rug at Costco that like is Totoro color and is exactly what I imagine he
cool.
feels like.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
It became our like lay down rug, so we like don't
Sure,
walk
yeah.
on it in shoes.
Oh, good. Yeah. So she falls asleep on him, and then her sister and her dad are looking for her later. They end up in the same spot in the woods, and she's not where she was. She's just kind of laying on the forest floor having a sleep, and they wake her up, and she starts going like, "Oh, I met." Does she say Totoro right away?
Yeah, so when she meets him, he roars, and it kind of sounds like Totoro.
Oh, interesting.
It's like very like
that, and I just watched
very it's like rah rah rah.
Oh, okay.
But he's got kind of like there's like kind of a synth.
That was pretty close to Andre the Giant, BT Dubs.
Yeah, the same energy.
Yeah.
But him and the cat bus both have like kind of a synthy quality to their roaring. Like they're
like the sound has a synth quality.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's got like a tinny, metallic-y synth quality when they roar.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Maybe I'm not describing it correctly, but there's like a inorganic quality to it.
Okay. I really like that she starts talking about this to the dad and the sister, and it's like, I met this thing, and the dad's like, it sounds like you met the king of the forest. That's super cool. And she's like, you don't believe me. He's like, no, I just, the king of the forest is not like a guy you're going to hang around with. You got lucky. You might never see him again. If you do, you should feel lucky.
Yeah.
And I like the whole thing of just like, nah, kid, it's not, he doesn't seem like he's humoring her. He's like, no, you really saw that. I just, it's not a thing everybody gets.
When he wants you to see him, you'll see him.
Yeah.
And she can't find, first she's trying to like go through the woods to find the tree, and she can't. And then they're like, well, let's take this path that we know leads to the tree. And they do, and the hole she fell in before is gone now. And so it's sort of like, ooh, what happened?
But there's a really nice moment where they sort of like, thank Totoro and ask him to watch over May, and they like sort of bow to the tree in respect. And it's like a nice little moment talking about the sort of broader themes of the movie. It's not like obnoxiously about the things that it's about. It's just this sort of nice little piece of it.
Because he even says a long time ago, man and trees got along.
Yeah. So that night we see Totoro and we see all three size Totoros on a little perch in the top of the tree.
Playing the little ocarina, maybe.
Yeah.
So early Bob's Burgers made a lot of Totoro references.
What's really funny? As I was watching this, I was like,
where have I seen this?
Well, no disrespect to Bob's Burgers, like it's way uglier than this.
Oh yeah,
but the energy of Bob's Burgers, like it clearly seems like it's Lauren Bouchard, who's Bob's Burgers creator, right? It seems like Bouchard was heavily influenced by at least this movie, if not more Miyazaki stuff. And
I think because Louise, a lot of the stuff she references about like anime and Japanese culture is real things.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a couple. There's like one of her toys looks like a weird version of Totoro.
It does, yeah. But I'm not even talking about that, which I think you're 100% correct on. I'm saying in like a sort of ethereal overall vibe.
Yeah,
Bob's Burgers has like a sort of Totoro energy of like, it's about the family, and it's also about like the adventures and the wonder of childhood, because like the kids are sort of our viewpoint for about half the Bob's episodes, I would say.
Yeah, it's very happy.
There's always that, right. But there's always that part where like sometimes it's a kid's episode and you're like, well, how much of this is real and how much isn't, like how much is this is the fantasy and how much is it not the fantasy? Like in particular, they've kind of gotten away from this, but like early Bob's episodes, like the one with the Taffy Man.
Yeah. Louise's Taffy Man that she found.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I've watched that episode a few times and I'm still not like 100% sure that she actually found a full on creature made of taffy, and it wasn't just like something that she was.
No,
like she found something
because the family sees it. That's where the gold bar is at the end.
Yes, I know, but I just like, even so, like it still feels like so ethereal and silly that like maybe it's not exactly what it is, because it's whatever. I'm just saying, like there is a vibe that Bob's Burgers is clearly emulating from this movie, I think, and beyond the fact that like there are explicit references to Totoro.
They don't do them as much anymore.
There's been more than one like explicit, like they did the bus station thing, did they not?
They didn't do the bus station. They did they did the seedling dance when
You're
Bob got drunk high on absinthe at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And then the giant turkey came out of the oven, and the giant turkey was Totoro.
Okay. I thought in the episode where they had like 10 different animation styles, they had a explicit Bob at the bus stop, but maybe it's just a piece of fan art I saw that
I don't remember that from that episode, no.
Okay.
But he's sitting, I just love the visual of them sitting on top of the tree, like playing music, just chilling.
Yeah. So Satsuki goes to class. May is being watched over by Nanny while Dad's at work. And then May looks out the window, and it's not Michael Myers. It's her sister and Nanny. And she's like, May! And she thinks something's wrong. And it's just like, no, she just kind of wants to be with her sister.
She's just
and
sad.
So the teacher's very cool about just like, all right, like your sister can just like sit in here and color while I'm teaching you, which seems like kind of categorically insane, but I also think it's really nice.
I mean, it's the 50s. Like, why not?
Yeah, different. Yeah. And so immediately it's like, what are you drawing? And she's like, oh, it's Totoro. And she's like, stop blowing up our spot.
Would you shut up, kid?
Weird. Be chill.
Yeah, they just literally the teacher's
Also,
like,
I don't know if you caught this. Satsuki is the only person in the class wearing a color that is not white or very light blue.
Yeah, she's not in a uniform. And I
Yeah.
wonder if it's because maybe it was just so close.
Protagonist syndrome much.
Well, yes, that. But I wonder if it's like it was too close to the end of the school year that they were like, don't bother.
Yeah, that
Because she said in like 5 minutes, she says summer vacation's almost here. So I was like, didn't you?
Yeah.
Didn't it just start?
Yeah, like, did you move there in April? Like, what a bum rap.
It's just crazy that the teacher's like, yeah, fine. Your 5-year-old sister can just sit between you and your desk mate, and we'll give her some crayons and paper.
Yeah. And then the school day lets out, and I was like, man, it's like the middle of the night. And then she's like, we better hurry, it's gonna rain. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense than what I said.
Yeah, it is dark raining.
It is like full black dark when they get out of school.
Yeah. So they they make it home because their neighbor boy gave them the umbrella, his umbrella. And then they just, after they eat dinner, they decide they're going to go meet their dad at the bus stop with his umbrella because he forgot it. And it's sort of like, this is the scene in the movie. This is the bus stop scene.
Yeah. People throw around the word iconic, but if there is an iconic moment in this movie, it is this.
Yeah, 100%. This is the iconic moment.
And so although I will say the part of this scene that really strains my ability to like take it seriously and truthful is like, make it seem real is that the dad's train is delayed.
And that never happens.
That does not happen in Japan.
Oh, in Japan. You're right. Yes.
In Japan, when something is, there was a thing fairly recently where a train was like under 2 minutes late and the company felt the need to issue a formal apology.
Wow.
The trains run on time in that country. Not like here, baby.
We show up when we show up and you'll shut up about it. So yeah, they're waiting at the bus stop, and then it's a really great perspective because Satsuki has May like on her back in a piggyback, and she's like, between her cheek and her shoulder is supporting the umbrella. And so she's like, her vision is obscured by the umbrella, and she just sees like the little, like, they're kind of like bear claw feet.
Yeah. They're like the tickle chicken from Jurassic World 6.
Yeah, tickle chicken or bear. They got those. Got long claws.
Yeah, it's longer than bear to me. It's more tickle chicken.
That's fair. And because Satsuki hasn't seen Totoro yet, and so now she sees these feet, and it's like, she's a little scared.
Yeah, and he's wearing the little leaf hat, which is
His little leaf hat.
Yeah. Does it rain on the stage version, do you think? Like Singing in the Rain style? Or because this rain is like a very big part of the vibe of this movie, I feel.
I don't know. I'm betting it's not. I'm betting it's represented by like streamers and sound.
Yeah.
Like
that makes a lot
vibrating
of sense.
mylar, probably.
Yeah.
But so because he's got a little leaf and it's not really doing much of a job, they're like, here, do you want to use our father's umbrella? And he loves it, and like the way the sound it makes when the rain hits it makes him very excited. Yeah. So he does a little jump to drop all of the rain that's trapped on the leaves and the trees.
Yeah. And then the cat bus shows up and he boards it. The part where the cat bus's door opens, I still, to be honest with you, find it a little bit disturbing. It's kind of a weird thing to look at.
Oh, I love it. And the sound it makes.
Yeah, that's the part where I'm like, ooh. But I love the visual of Totoro like looking at them out the window with the big dumb smile on his face with the umbrella, and their kids are like kind of thrilled, and then like a beat and another beat, and then she's like, "Did he just take Dad's umbrella?"
Yes,
it's like so good.
He gives them a little leaf wrapped pouch before he gets on the bus.
Yeah.
Apparently, so cat bus is supposed to be a creature called Bakaneko, which Louise has mentioned in Bob's Burgers. It's like a shapeshifter, but it's always like a cat that has become a shapeshifter. And so
got it. I think that might be the creature that is in Lovecraft Country during the episode or two.
I did not watch.
The characters in Japan. Okay. I mean, it's fine if you can skip it. It's fine.
You told me it was yucky, so I did not.
It's extremely yucky. Yeah. It's cool because it's basically like every episode is a completely different energy, and it's not a completely black cast, but a very largely black cast. And so it's like, this one is a adventure movie. This one is and it's like they do Indiana Jones with a black actor in the lead. Basically. Like the vibe is full on Indiana Jones. And then there's at least 1 or 2 episodes, sort of a flashback to his time as a soldier in Japan. And he ends up falling in love with a shapeshifter creature, which I think may be this creature, but maybe is a different shapeshifting creature from Japanese culture.
Yeah. But the idea is that,
and if I'm wrong, pig-headed American, apologies.
Basically, the idea is that like the Bakaneko saw a bus and was like, I want to be a bus, and so in its cat form became a bus that is also a cat.
Yeah, it's cool. It is a cool design. I just don't like the door part. The door part makes me uncomfortable.
I've always wanted to sit in it. It's
I wonder if that's one of the things at the theme park, because that like there's no rides. It's just like a garden park, like an old school thing like that, like a vibe park. So I do wonder if there's like a Totoro you could hug and a cat bus to see.
I think there is a huggable Totoro, but I feel like cat bus would get real dirty real fast if you're opening it to the public. Yeah. Like I need a personal private cat bus.
Well, you could make yourself a fur seat, I suppose.
Yeah, good. But cat bus leaves, and like you said, they realize that he just stole their dad's umbrella.
Yeah. And then the dad arrives shortly after and is like, "Oh, you guys came to meet me. I'm, so nice to see you." And then they are like little kid telling him the story where it's just like, "Oh my God, he's not Totoro. We got a cat bus.
Mile a minute.
Oh my God." Yeah. Very good.
So they go home. It's like every scene with them it feels very loving. Like he's like, "Who wants a ride?" And they jump on his outstretched arms and he like airplanes for a little bit. It's very sweet.
Yeah, it is. They go home and plant the seeds, and they're like frantically, May is like dying to watch them sprout. So this part I think is told via voiceover in a letter to the mom who's still in the hospital. And we see May like with a little gardener hat on, like excitedly like staring at the dirt and waiting for a sprout to happen.
And this is the scene you alluded to earlier where they're sleeping in the like mosquito nets. Mm-hmm. And then they see the 3 Totoros like ritually walking around the little garden they planted with the umbrellas and the leaves, and they're doing a little dance. So they run out and join them, and then like this giant tree made of like 100,000 trees grows out of the ground, and Totoro throws this little giant spinning magic top, and they all jump onto his fur, and he jumps onto the top, and they fly around. It's just lovely. Like.
It's so cute, yeah.
This is when me as a kid was like, this would be the life.
Yeah. I mean, like jumping in and hugging Totoro seems amazing, and then also getting to go for a flight is just delightful.
And this is where they like, he is the wind.
Yes.
So then it ends with them. Dad is sitting in his study, and he can see the top of the tree, and it's very small, but it's clearly the 3 Totoros and the 2 daughters sitting at the top of the tree playing. I keep saying ocarina, but I don't know if that's right.
I don't know what it is. I don't know the instrument. It looks like a gourd with holes in it, but it could be an ocarina. Yeah. I don't know. I thought an ocarina was like a flute.
Yeah, I think ocarina has more note
When
capability.
I hear that word, I think of
Zelda,
which makes me think of flutes.
Wait, so Zelda's it's not an ocarina is not a flute. It's like this round, like a football shape with holes in the and kind of flute like, I guess. But
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, Dad see
Not like more like a pan, pan flute is a series of tunes.
not a pan flute, yeah.
Recorder, I guess, more than a flute.
Yeah. But yeah, Dad sees them and he like smiles and looks back at his work and he's like, huh? And then he smiles again. It's very like you said, like all the adults are like, yeah, there was magic in the world. It's not for me anymore.
Right. Like I kind of like I'm aware that it exists. I just am no longer able to see it. Is sort of the vibe.
So they're hanging out. The girls are hanging out with Nanny, picking vegetables, talking about how Mom's coming home for a short visit from the hospital, before she has to go back. And again, the food is so good. Like it's just vegetables. It's literally just vegetables. Yeah. But
the chomps they're taking out of these cucumbers is like hell. That's like one of my favorite
like hand foods,
like food related pleasures. Is like I love taking a huge bite of a vegetable.
Yep.
Like just biting into a cucumber, or I like the fat end of a carrot. Like I'll sometimes like peel a carrot and then like chop up the first 80%. I'm like, well, this back half's for me because I have to cut it up 4 ways to get it to be the right size for this recipe anyway. So this is mine.
And they get a telegram for their father from the hospital saying, call us right away. And this is where the movie starts to have tension.
Yeah.
Which is like, what are there 40 minutes left in the movie, if that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not even. Like I at more than one point, I was like, there's like 25 minutes left in the movie. Like, how are they going to resolve these things this quickly? But they do without it feeling rushed.
Yeah. So Nanny tells her, I guess her grandson, the neighbor boy that like...
It's never clear, but they seem to live together. So yeah, the neighbor boy seems to be her grandson.
Who like, again, any other movie, there would be like a romance between Satsuki and this boy. And like, it's clearly implied that he has a crush on her, but he doesn't know what feelings and emotions are because he's a boy.
Right.
But it's not actually explored. It's just like, this is a thing. Shut up about it. Move on.
Right. It just seems sweet. Like two little kids who like he clearly has a crush on her, but it's just like a sweet relationship that he doesn't even speak to her until almost the end of the movie.
Yeah. So she tells him to take Satsuki back to his house and use the phone, and then tells May to go to Nanny's house and wait. But May gets lost briefly.
Yeah. Well, May doesn't get lost. May has an ear of corn that she's picked that she wants to give to her mom, and she falls down, and when she picks it up, a goat who is like horny for this ear of corn.
Oh yeah, he's hungry.
Wants this thing bad, so she has to run away.
No, because she gets lost and runs into the goat, and then comes back and sees Satsuki.
I thought she's chasing her sister, falls down, gets up, brusts herself up, picks up the corn, and then the goat comes from around the house, and then she has to go down a different road to get away from the goat.
No, she gets lost because she's chasing them and doesn't see them go into the house because she doesn't know which house it is.
Oh, okay.
And so Satsuki calls their father, who calls the hospital, who then calls them back. And this is what we said earlier, that mom has a cold or isn't feeling well, so she can't come home right now. It's not safe.
Yeah. And I, like I said, haven't watched this movie forever. I'm like, oh, so she is dying. Like the mom.
We would assume, yeah,
die before this movie ends. Yeah.
And the sisters fight because it feels real.
Right. And they both are like very, very sad about, like, they obviously have a lot of complicated emotion going on with their moms. They are children who can't express it. They end up like cry yelling at each other. And then like Satsuki leaves. And then in a scene or two from now, she has the breakdown too. Cause it's just like, she just doesn't know what to do with this stuff.
She's the older sister, but also like is still a child.
Right. Absolutely.
Because Nanny is trying to be positive, and Satsuki is basically like, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Right, yeah.
And so May kind of hears that and sees Satsuki crying and decides that she's going to take her ear of corn to mom in the hospital, which is like a 3-hour walk for a grown man, Nanny says.
Yeah.
So the whole town starts looking for May because she's gone. Satsuki is asking everyone she sees.
So Satsuki starts like running after her, and she runs down the path, like the road that goes to town or whatever. And like this part of it, like she's running around, and this part is like the no tact Olympics for like 10 minutes here, because first she's like this like farmer is like on a hilltop, and she runs up to the farmer and she's like, "Hey, I'm looking for my sister. She's like 5. Have you seen her?" And he's like, maybe. And then like a beat, and then he's like, a lot of people come by here. I don't really know. And it's like, are you?
He also goes, "Are you sure it's your sister?" And I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?"
Yeah, she kind of like brushes him off. She's on the path again, and then this like couple comes up in this like motorcycle with a cart behind it and almost crashes into her. And they're like, "Oh, we just came from the town that you're going. They where the hospital is, and we didn't see anybody along the path." And they're like, "Well, anyway, good luck. Go looking for your sister. Bye." And don't offer her a ride, even though they're very clearly going the direction she's about to go.
No, they're coming from that direction.
Yes, I know, but she turns around then.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, they didn't see her, so I'm turning around. And they're just like, all right, bye.
Because they even say, "You ran from there? That's 3 hours."
Yeah. It's like, maybe offer her a ride down the road. You have a cart. Put her in it.
And then the neighbor boy sees her, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to take my bike to the hospital."
Oh, yeah, this is worse. This is the end of the No Tact Olympics.
It's. I think this has got to be a translation mishap. Because he's like, "Hey, why don't you go back to my house and wait by the phone? I'm gonna bike to the hospital." And she's like, "But if she tried to get to the hospital herself, she got lost." And he goes, "Hey, wait a minute! Someone found sandals by the lake half an hour ago." And I was like, "Again, like that feels like with English translation, we could have cleaned that up a bit so it doesn't seem like he forgot about this very important thing."
Yes. Also, inconsequential to the thing we're talking about, but the way this kid is riding, like he's way too small to ride the bike, so he's like standing through it, and all I could think of was like the horrific injury that is about to happen to this child.
Oh yeah, he's gonna ruin his legs.
Yeah, like just the chain's gonna wrap around his ankle or something horrific. I mean, it's gonna be really bad. But then, so like very clearly, people think the kid fell in the lake because they're using like poles and like big bamboo poles and searching the lake.
Yeah, they're dredging this lake.
Yeah, and Nanny is like praying or doing something similar over the shoe and like trying to figure out. And then they think this is May's shoe. And then Satsuki gets there and she shows her the shoe and she's like, "That's not my sister's shoe." But I was like, she definitely put shoes on that looked almost exactly
They didn't have
like
flowers
this.
on them.
Okay, because
they're the same shoe, but they have a flower in between the toes. And May's sandals
did not. Okay, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's her shoe. Like I was trying to figure out, like, did Totoro? She jumped on Totoro and her shoes fell off. Like I was trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah. Although, so there, of course, because everything is like this on the internet, there is the dark theory that she did actually die.
Oh.
I don't remember. I don't put any. I haven't bothered to like research because I'm like, where you're pulling, you're reaching, and you're pulling.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
they find her.
Oh. Well, only Satsuki ever sees her, though. So I guess I see how someone could do that.
Yeah. No, because at the very end, Nanny hugs her.
Oh, you're right. She does.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, that's
they're dumb, but
yeah.
Anyway,
Satsuki is like, I gotta find Totoro. She goes into the woods. She's like, I need him for help. She accidentally trampolines on Totoro, which is kind of looking.
Seems great to me.
Yeah.
And this is where we talked about that it's a little scary. That he's got the big bear claws, or you say the tickle chicken claws.
The tickle chicken claws. Please respect the fiction.
And he grabs her, but it's because he doesn't have fingers. He just has claws. It's so the way he grabs things has like a delicateness to it. Yeah. If anyone has ever,
he clearly doesn't want to hurt.
If anyone has ever worn long fake nails, it's that way that you hold things. That everything has like a softness to it that you're like, well, I have to do things different now. But it looks like he's about to pop her in his mouth like a snack.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
nope. Instead, by God, that's Cat Bus's music.
It's really cute because he grabs her and he like pops up out of the tree and it's like a whoop.
Yeah.
And then he lands on it and he runs sideways up the tree to pop out the top and call on Cat Bus.
Really great scamper noises as the Cat Bus comes up the tree as well. I like that part.
It's like running through people and they're not noticing anything.
Yeah.
And so it jumps up and it opens its little door and he's like, in you go. It's a little crazy. I thought it was weird. I always think it's weird he doesn't go with her.
Yes. Because we see him fit in there.
Yeah. But then the front of the bus where it says like destination does like a bunch of flippies. And then it says next stop, little sister, which is so fun.
It is. It's delightful. So they pull up to where May is and she gets in as well. And then he's like, well, time to go see your mom at the hospital, because the sister May was trying to bring the little ear of corn she had picked to her mom in the hospital.
So they see their dad and their mom in the hospital, like they're just watching from a tree, and then they sneak they like carve into the corn and sneak it onto the windowsill.
This is for mom. Yeah. And it's like such a delightful little kid thing, because it's like, I mean, you can eat a raw ear of corn, but it is not the most pleasurable of food experience.
I feel like cucumber is the better of the raw fruit that they were eating.
Yes. Yeah, but if you carved into the cucumber, it would be a nightmare. Like, you'd ruin the cucumber.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be rotting momentarily. So it's just like, I get it, but also it's kind of just like, what's she supposed to do with an ear of corn?
And then mom looks out the window and is like, I swear I just saw May and Satsuki. Does she say? I can't remember. Does she say?
She says the girls.
The girls. And it's like, again, like adults are like, magic is real. It's just not for me anymore.
Right. Yeah. And the dad's like, well, I think you might be right, because this ear of corn says
for mom.
Hey, mom, get well soon, or whatever. I forget the specifics, but something along those lines.
And then we get I think it's the Japanese name is Tonari no Totoro, the song. And we get happy wrap 'em ups.
Yeah. With we see Nanny hugging the girls, and we just sort of
they ride cat bus home.
Yeah. I mean, this is, like I said, it's like the plot of this movie is sort of inconsequential to what it's trying to accomplish, which is
it's feelings and vibes.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of shaggy as a movie. It's very much in the vein of other hangout movies where like the plot is really not all that not that important. It's almost inconsequential, because like the point of this movie is to just like really create a time and place in a deep artistic way. Like all of the pieces of it is as deeply as you can feel them.
Yeah. I love it.
It's a really beautiful movie, and also like about the magic of childhood in a way that is just super satisfying to watch as an adult, which I probably didn't get. I was going to ask you this, and I don't remember. Was this just part you had like perhaps a Pokemon induced? No, I guess timing wise, that's probably.
This would have been pre-Pokemon.
You had a brief Japanophile phase. Is this just part of that? Or do you
know
how this movie came into your life?
I've had this. I feel like we had this on VHS. So like this was a pre-Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
I
have no logical explanation other than like maybe mom heard about it and thought you would like it, which is also reasonable. I just don't know that.
Because we also had we had the Disneys, but then we also had Once Upon a Forest, which like 7 other people I've ever met know what that movie is, which is just like
some random kids.
A very ham-fisted movie about saving the environment.
I really don't remember that movie at all.
It's literally the plot is a driver throws a glass bottle out their window, and then an oil rig tire pops and leaks poison into this entire village of creatures. So these 3 kids have to run away and find get ingredients for a potion that will heal the little girl who's now dying from the poison.
Okay. It is only the second craziest movie I've ever heard of that gets all set off by a glass bottle.
Yeah. It's buck wild.
Have you ever seen The Gods Must Be Crazy? Because that also hinges on a Coke bottle.
No.
I'm not going to get into all the who's and what's and whys because I haven't watched it in 20 years. But like a Coke bottle falls from an airplane and causes havoc in an African village. It's probably extremely racist.
Oh, probably.
It's my guess.
But yeah, it's like we had a couple We're Back, the Dinosaurs movie.
Mm-hmm. But that one's logical. Like it was a clamshell VHS with dinosaurs on the cover. Like it feels right at home. Plus Whoopi was in it. Mom liked Whoopi.
Was Whoopi the pterodactyl?
Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought Whoopi was one of the dinosaurs.
I don't think so. John Goodman is one of the dinosaurs, and Julia Child is in it.
Okay. Well, that would also be a mom catnip.
Yeah. But how would she know Julia Child was in this random movie? It's not like there was the internet.
Her name's probably on the cover.
I don't remember if it is, but yeah. So I think it might. I'm guessing it just was.
There's no way Julia Child's name isn't on the box for that movie.
She has like 5 lines in this movie.
Yeah, I know, but there's no way.
I don't know, because it's like Yardley Smith. No, who's Lisa Simpson?
You're right. I believe it's pronounced Yeardley, but
Yeardley.
I knew what you meant.
Like she's in We're Back. John Goodman's in We're Back. Like
right. Yeah, this is so unlike the things you're talking about that it made me think it was like Andrew had a friend or somebody introduced it, and you also had like a brief anime phase, as well. But I thought that was Pokemon coincided.
So the anime phase was Pokemon coincided, but this was just a thing that I had, and it's funny because like.
Okay.
For a while, I hadn't seen a lot of Miyazaki, but I love Totoro. And so people would assume, they'd be like, oh, what's your favorite Miyazaki? I'm like, yeah, I don't know Miyazaki. I know Totoro.
I just like Totoro, yeah.
But like I'm branching out now and actually like watching some of his stuff because he's obviously he's brilliant and I know that, but I just had never watched.
Yeah.
And
is the one with the red turtle, is it just called Red Turtle? Is that him or am I just being racist because it's also Japanese?
I don't know Red Turtle. Are you talking about Ponyo?
No, it's I remember it might have been a height of COVID thing, but I remember watching it fairly recently, although, I don't remember anything, but it was Academy Award nominated and it, like a really beautiful movie about a red sea turtle. Yeah.
Last 10 years, you would say.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know the Red Turtle.
Yeah, it got nominated. I might just be being racist and like, oh, it's Japanese, so it must be
because Miyazaki doesn't do much anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily feel like his style. Oh, I'm looking at this. Oh, what? It is not directed by him, but it is a Studio Ghibli movie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And it is called The Red Turtle.
I wonder if it's about does the turtle have a hole in his head?
A hole in its head?
Yeah. Answer the question.
Just the standard nostrils.
Okay. Well, no, there's a Japanese, I don't say creature, folklore character called the Kappa. And it's a turtle with a hole, like a divot in his head that's filled with water. And the way you defeat him is by tricking him into bowing so that all the water pours out, and then he can't move.
I see. No, this is a sea turtle that keeps blowing up this guy's raft when he tries to leave this island he's been stranded on.
Oh, weird.
I don't remember that any more than that, but I do remember it being very beautiful. And it is a Ghibli movie, so like stylistically, I feel less racist about just assuming it's Miyazaki because it was Japanese. It's like, well, it's his production company. Anyway, I have not watched nearly enough of his, but this movie is great and it's highly worth your time. It's a great entry point into Miyazaki. You might like this and decide to watch some others. So I definitely recommend this. And it's available on the Internet Archive, which is great with this nice Fox /
You can watch, if you want to watch the Fox dub, it's available. If you want to watch the Disney dub, that's available.
Yeah, I don't know if the subtitled version is available stateside anymore, but it should be if it's not.
Yeah.
Although I will say this dub is very good in that the English actors match the line length to the Japanese line length, so the mouths match, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Although I do have a friend who we were talking about Totoro, and he was like, "Yeah, I grew up watching the subtitled versions," and I was like, "Oh wow, I could not have done that as a child."
Yeah, like your DVD didn't have that, did it? I'm guessing.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Do you still have the DVD? I think it's worth quite a lot.
I mean, I do. I don't know if it is worth it. I'll have to look it up and see if it's worth anything.
They're all out of print, so they command a pretty good.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
The Disney one is also out of print.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
There are no, I don't, or maybe it's gone back into print or whatever, but it at least for a time was out of print. So, well, anyway, this is a great movie and you should watch it.
I agree.
And, we will continue Favorites-bruary with Tremors on Patreon some point later this month. But in 2 weeks here on the main feed, we're doing one of my all-time faves as part of our year-long celebration of Dr. Jones, Indiana Jones, and The Last Crusade. We'll be doing that. And then, June, I think, May, whenever that comes out, we'll get you 2 more Indiana Jones ones. And then if you guys want to hear the 4th one, you can do that for Listener Request Month. So... thank you so very much for listening to the show. Hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/dissectingthe80s. We're at Dissect the 80s on Twitter, and we love to hear from you. And we post, whenever we have schedule issues or whatever, like this past episode that we missed. We'll get to Christine later this year for sure. I think we found a slot for it already. And if not, we'll do it whenever they do the Brian Fuller one, if that ever comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much for supporting the show and listening to it. Don't forget to rate and review and follow it wherever you get your podcasts. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.